All the scandals going on in Washington right now have caused many of us to ignore what is dead ahead of us. It's the most significant piece of legislation in Washington since Obamacare, the immigration reform bill. It's not an easy call, but there are three elements, all conveniently starting with the letter P, that must be considered. First, principle. It's pretty hard to argue that the principles embedded in the bill in a vacuum are unreasonable. We're told that those here illegally would have to come out of the shadows, identify themselves, pay penalties, prove they can speak English, go to the back of the line behind those who've been playing by the rules, and accept being ineligible for entitlement payments once they become legal. Seems reasonable. With many or most conservatives demanding an extremely long fence to secure our southern border, there's also an important metaphysical question here. Is such a fence offensive to the very notion of what we are as a country? Do we no longer care to send the message to the world to bring us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses? Are we still attempting to be a magnet for those yearning to breathe free? Or do we no longer consider ourselves a nation of immigrants? Second, practice. While the baseline principles of this immigration reform are attractive, our track record is not good when it comes to practicing or enforcing immigration laws. The last time we did immigration reform in 1986, the amnesty that was promised was delivered to about 3 million illegals, but the promise to enhance border security was not delivered. Can we trust that the enforcement provisions in this bill will actually be put into practice? And third, politics. This is where the rubber meets the road. In addition to further strengthening the Democrats' current stronghold on the Hispanic vote, this bill will certainly make it more attractive to emigrate to the U.S. and thus will draw millions more to America in the years ahead. And we can be certain that the vast majority of them will ultimately become Democrats. But apart from the three Ps, most worrisome in the long run may not even be the fate of millions of immigrants so much as the culture that's absorbing them, specifically the problem of e pluribus unum, the informal slogan of America, meaning out of many, one. This speaks to our very self-identity as a melting pot, welcoming people from all over the world with the informal requirement that they become part of a common American culture. But that's no longer the case. We now encourage hyphenation for everyone. You're not American so much as African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, etc. So if you approve of the principles in this bill, does the history of how we actually practice immigration reform concern you enough to oppose it? Is the fact that Democrats are certain to benefit a great deal politically enough to cause you to oppose it? Or are the principles enough by themselves to warrant support of this legislation? In the end, we must consider all three elements, principle, practice, and politics, in deciding whether this landmark bill would actually strengthen or weaken us and ultimately move us closer or further away from the vision of what America has been and should be.